No, 2024 has already broken heat records across the globe, and one of the effects you might not think about in those cases is what it's doing to your skin.
Gotta think about that. Heat waves can provoke a number of skin conditions, and joining us now to talk more about this is Dr. Richard Chaffoo with the La Jolla Plastic Surgery and Dermatology. And thank you so much for being
here,
with us. Let's get right to it.
Sure.
How are the most common ways that you see that the heat can affect your skin?
So I see it somewhat. Of course, my wife's a dermatologist in the practice, so she probably sees more of it. But certainly, what we see when there's too much heat is the body attempts to cool itself down by too much perspiration, by too much sweating. What that does is it plugs our pores. So what we'll see is an increase in rashes called heat rashes, where it's this prickly sensation, these small little bumps that can occur on the skin. We're also seeing people that have underlying skin conditions, Susan, like eczema, rosacea, psoriasis, can actually be flared up or made worse by these heat periods that we're seeing.
Can any of this be especially dangerous, like over a longer period of time as maybe things get hotter?
It can be, certainly, and one of the worst things is heat stroke, which is when you're just really not paying attention to this, not getting cool, not getting into the shade, and your core temperature is rising faster than the body can compensate for.
Is there any chance that skin cancer would be more likely to happen the more we have these heat waves?
Yes, Andrew, much more likely, because we know that almost all skin cancer is related to ultraviolet exposure, and certainly the peak times of the day from about 10 a.m. to about 2 in the afternoon is when the sun is at its zenith and we're getting the highest doses of ultraviolet radiation. We know that dermatologists tell us by the age of 18 that we've gotten 80% of the sun damage that we're going to accumulate throughout our lifetime. So that's why people say, well, gosh, I've been careful about sun exposure, and that was years ago, and I'm in my 50s, and that was when I was 18, but it is cumulative effect.
You know, see, we're always being told about wearing sunscreen, right? We always make our kids, we chase our kids around with the sunscreen and all of that. But then they say we lack vitamin D. So how do you balance that out?
So you have to, it's always a balance, Susan, but the big key is that most skin cancers are related to ultraviolet exposure. So any regular skincare regimen during each day has to include sunscreen. The first thing to put on is sunscreen. You need to put on about 20 minutes before you go outside. The vitamin D we'll get from a lot of our foods. Obviously, some people will take supplements, and we all get enough indirect sunlight as it is. We don't live in caves, fortunately. But too much sun exposure causes other side effects like premature aging, precancerous cancers, melanoma, squamous basal cell carcinomas.
Right. SPF 30 or more?
Yeah, the American Academy of Dermatology says an SPF of 30. Okay. You don't necessarily need a 50 or 100.
Yeah, okay. Here in San Diego, we've been dealing with a few things in the South Bay, for example, the sewage and air pollution crisis. There's smoke coming from the north. All this seems to have affected us more with heat.
Yes.
Can it affect the skin?
It certainly can, Andrew, because what we're seeing is with a lot of these pollutants are all kinds of chemicals, ozone effects that can also help to plug the skin. So it's not just the actual heat itself, but it's pollutants associated with it. You almost get like a heat cover or heat shell to where these pollutants don't have really anywhere to go, and you get more exposure to your skin.
So what do you do to protect yourself in those cases?
So the best thing, one of the best things is obviously, you want to stay well hydrated. You want to wear breathable clothing. A lot of materials now have an SPF of 30 built into them. Drinking plenty of fluid. We always forget about drinking enough water, limiting our caffeine exposure, and then using hydrating products, using various moisturizers. Some of the sunscreens actually have a moisturizer built into them, so you're getting 2-for-1 effect. And then being careful about when you're outside, limiting your activities, especially during that 10 a.m. to the 2 p.m. period, either being out earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon. And then showers, keeping your room, your house cooler, with fans or air conditioning.
Oh, we're glad it's about to get cooler. Thank you, Dr. Chaffoo. Thank you so much for joining us. Good information. We appreciate it. We're going to take a break and be right back.